The coach bus came to a full stop, and Su Tian jumped off first. I sat by the window and watched her stretch lazily at the hotel entrance, her ponytail swaying back and forth under the street lamp. The night breeze in early June still carried a slight chill. She wore a thin white cardigan. Looking frail and blameless. Line up by groups. Every needn't scatter. Class monitor Zhao Peng waved the class flag and shouted, "Get your ID cards ready. Su Tian will check everyone in all at once." The cabin buzzed with noise. Some rummaged through their backpacks for IDs. Others pressed their faces to the windows to stare at the hotel facade, while a handful were already debating whether to cram another full set of science comprehensive exam papers that night. Li Xiao sat beside me, shoveling potato chips into her mouth as she mumbled indistinctly, "Sister Saw. Do you think this hotel's gonna be a dump?" Su Tian said the group rate's only 320 per room. I just don't trust it. I zipped up my backpack and said nothing. 320 yuan. I shouldn't have had to pay that sum at all. The whole ordeal had rubbed me the wrong way from the very start. But my mom had told me not to fuss over trivial stuff right before the exam, or it would ruin my mood. I'd figured she was right and let it slide. As I climbed down from the bus, I caught faint whispers behind me. "Hey, look at Lin Su's face. Does she hate the hotel already? She's used to 5-star resorts, isn't she? A budget group hotel's never gonna measure up to her standards. If she hates it so much, she shouldn't have come." No one begged her to tag along. I didn't turn around. Li Xiao spun to glare at them. But I grabbed her arm and held her back. Beside the coach, Su Tian clutched a folder and chatted with a hotel staff member. Her voice was perpetually soft and faint, like a skittish little rabbit, making anyone hesitate to raise their voice at her. Lu Chuan stood beside her, holding her bag for her. My gaze lingered on them for less than a second before I looked away. Li Xiao followed my line of sight and huffed. Unbelievable. Her ex-boyfriend's playing errand boy for her new crush, fawning all over her like it's no awkward thing at all. "Let's go." I tugged her toward the lobby. The hotel lobby was modest in size. When all 13 of us flooded in with our luggage, the space instantly felt cramped. Only 2 front desk clerks were on duty, swamped with work. Su Tian stood at the front, head bowed as she flipped through the name list inside her folder, her brows slightly furrowed, putting on a picture of earnest diligence. I leaned against the wall and scrolled through my phone. My mom had sent 2 messages, asking if I'd arrived and how the room was. I typed back "made it. It's fine," and slipped my phone into my pocket. Chaos swirled all around us. Some complained they were starving and wanted to head out for food. Others wanted to go upstairs to shower first. A group debated what time to get up the next morning for the exam. Monitor Zhao shouted for quiet several times, but no one paid him any mind. Then Su Tian walked straight toward me. It was only when she stopped right in front of me that I noticed her bloodshot eyes. Her eye sockets glistened with tears. Her nose flushed red, as if she was straining to hold back a wave of overwhelming grievance. Her knuckles whitened where she squeezed the folder's edge, and her lips trembled faintly. "Lin Saw." She spoke my name so quietly I could barely hear it. I looked up at her, silent. She drew a deep breath, as if steeling herself for something huge, and then tears finally spilled over her lids. One drop, then another, slid down her cheeks to her chin and plopped onto the marble floor. "I'm sorry." Her voice cracked with sobs, thin and delicate, like a wounded little animal whimpering. The hubbub in the lobby faded bit by bit. Every pair of eyes locked onto us. "Lin Saw. I'm so sorry." I was cross-checking the list and realized there's some glitch in the hotel system. She paused, lifted her tear-blurred eyes to meet mine, her lips quivering as she uttered the sentence that plunged the entire lobby into dead silence. "We booked rooms for all 13 students in the class, but yours is the only one missing from the reservation." Silence. Utter silence. I heard the wall clock tick 2 full seconds. A car rumbled past the entrance outside. Li Xiao gasped sharply. Then the lobby erupted in commotion. "What? They forgot to book her room. You've got to be kidding me." You had a mess. "What's Lin Saw gonna do now?" Voices buzzed all around, yet no one stepped forward to stand beside me or speak up for me. They only watched from a safe distance, their gazes a mix of morbid curiosity, pity, and quiet relief. Relief that it wasn't them stuck in this mess. Su Tian kept crying. She cried beautifully, tears streaming down one after another, her shoulders trembling gently like a tiny white flower soaked by rain. I truly don't know how this happened, she hiccuped through her sobs. I submitted a reservation for 13 rooms. And I double-checked the list multiple times, but the front desk just said the system only has 38 bookings. Two really don't understand. Her hands shook, or at least they looked like they were shaking. I stared at her red-rimmed eyes, her trembling lips, her pale knuckles tight around the folder. Strangely enough, I felt no anger. I only thought. Just as I suspected. Stop crying. I finally spoke, my voice far calmer than I'd expected it to be. Su Tian lifted her tear-streaked face to look at me, waiting, it seemed, for my forgiveness. Before I could say another word, a figure stepped between us to shield her. Lu Chuan, my ex-boyfriend, the student union president, stood facing me now, positioning himself as her protector, blocking Su Tian behind his back. He frowned, his chin tilted upward, staring at me as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. Lin saw. Enough is enough. His tone was low, yet every word dripped with condescending blame. I said nothing. Holding his gaze, he mistook my silence for intimidation, and his tone turned into patronizing earnestness. Su Tian ran around to dozens of hotels haggling just to get this discounted group rate and save everyone money. Do you have any idea how long she begged for this deal? Not everyone's like you. Dropping over 100,000 yuan on a summer study tour to Europe without a second thought. The surrounding crowd fell even quieter. Some ducked their heads, others exchanged glances, and a few quietly stepped half a pace backward. Li Xiao balled her fists beside me, but I pressed down on her wrist to hold her back. Lu Chuan kept talking, his voice echoing through the lobby, crystal clear to all 38 people present. This whole thing's just an accident. If anyone's to blame, it's bad luck on your part. Throwing a fit right now will ruin the whole class's mental state for tomorrow's exams. Didn't you have any sense of the bigger picture? He paused after finishing the sentence, then added in a falsely impartial tone, I'll say this fairly. None of us wanted this to happen. Right now, the priority is making sure everyone gets a good rest to ace the exam. If you're upset, sort it out after the test. Can you do that? Can you do that? He framed it like a choice I could make. As if, after his little speech, I still held the option to say no. But I didn't answer. Because in that instant, everything suddenly clicked into place. All right, everyone, settle down. Zhou Yan spoke up. She sat on a leather stool by the front desk, legs crossed, twirling a pen between her fingers. We'd never been close. In class, she stayed neutral, never picking sides or stirring up trouble. And never sticking up for anyone either. Lin saw. She turned to me, speaking as if lecturing a misbehaving child. Don't be mad. Su Tian didn't do it on purpose. Practically in tears. Lu Ziki beside her jumped in immediately. Exactly. Everyone makes mistakes. Besides, your family's well off. Just grab a taxi and book a nicer hotel nearby. Think of it as a little change of scenery to unwind before the exam. She even chuckled as she said it, seemingly proud of how witty she sounded. Yeah, that's right. Someone chimed in. Don't let us hold you back. And don't hold us back either. That line was masterfully manipulative. Don't let us hold you back. And don't hold us back either. On the surface, it sounded like concern for me. Yet it split the blame evenly down the middle, half mine, half theirs. If I refused to leave, I'd be the one ruining both my own night and everyone else's. I leaned against the wall and slowly scanned every face in the crowd. Most avoided my eyes. A small number met my gaze with pity, but it was shallow pity, vanishing in the blink of an eye. No one wanted trouble. No one wanted to stand against the whole group. Su Tian continued crying, her sobs broken, her shoulders shaking harder than before. Lu Chuan stood beside her, hovering one hand loosely over her shoulder, as if he wanted to pat her but dared not touch her fully, his face etched with blatant distress. Li Xiao could no longer contain herself. "Are you all out of your minds?" She pulled free of my grip and stepped forward. "Lin Sa's room got left out. And every single one of you." "Xiao." I called her name to stop her. She spun back to me, eyes blazing with rage. I shook my head at her. It wasn't that I didn't want to fight this. It was that in that moment, all these people struck me as ridiculous, and Su Tian's acting wasn't even as flawless as I'd imagined. Her eyes were red, yet there was no panic in them. Her hands trembled, not from nervousness, but excitement. She wept copiously, yet the corners of her lips barely restrained a smile. She'd been waiting for me to lose my temper, waiting for me to scream at Lu Chuan, argue with the whole class, and turn the lobby upside down the night before the college entrance exam. Then she would keep crying, keep apologizing, keep playing the poor, remorseful girl who'd made an honest mistake. And what would that make me? The spoiled rich heiress throwing a tantrum over a trivial error. The bitter girl who nitpicked over one tiny slip-up. The troublemaker who ignored the collective good on exam eve. She would cry all night, then walk into the exam hall tomorrow with puffy, swollen eyes. Everyone would sympathize with her, convinced I'd bullied her, and my mental state would crumble. Sitting in the exam room the next day, my mind would be stuck on this mess. I'd freeze up on the Chinese essay, unable to work through the complex math problems. That was all she'd ever wanted. I looked at Su Tian, at the unnaturally bright glint in her tear-smudged eyes, and everything fell crystal clear. I said to Li Xiao, "It's fine." Then I shifted my gaze back to Su Tian. "Su Tian." She lifted her tear-filled eyes to meet mine. I smiled faintly. "That glitch you mentioned, when exactly did you find out about it?" She froze, clearly not expecting that question, but she recovered quickly, sniffling as she replied, Just now, when I was checking the list. The front desk said the system only has records for 38 rooms. I searched over and over, but your name's nowhere to be found." "I see." I nodded, my tone steady. "Did the hotel send a confirmation text or email when you booked the rooms?" "They did. But I was swamped with work back then, so I never went through each one to double-check. Could you pull up that confirmation information for me? I'd like to figure out where the mistake happened." Her expression stiffened for a split second, tears still clinging to her lash line. "The texts. I deleted them a while ago to free up phone storage." "What about the email?" "I cleared that too. We're supposed to clean up our phones before exams to make space for review materials. Remember?" I nodded, choosing not to press further. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some whispered about how coincidental her excuses were. Others muttered that I was being harsh and unforgiving. Su Tian's eyes flooded with fresh tears, streaming down faster this time. "Lin Sa, do you not believe me? I truly didn't mean this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She took 2 small steps forward as she spoke, reaching out as if to grab my hand. Lu Chuan instantly blocked her path, glaring straight at me. "Lin Sa, will you ever let this go? Su Tian's already apologized repeatedly. What more do you want? Do you expect her to drop to her knees for you?" Teacher Lu walked in looking worn out from travel. His hair was a mess, his shirt collar half tucked inside and half sticking out, a thermos clutched in one hand, his face screaming, "I'm exhausted. Don't dump more problems on me. What's all this commotion?" He raised his voice the second he crossed the threshold. "I could hear your shouting all the way in the parking lot. Have you no sense of decency?" The lobby fell silent at once. Zhou Yin stood up from the leather stool. Lu Ziki clamped her mouth shut, and even Su Tian's sobs softened. Teacher Lu scanned the crowd, his gaze landing finally on Su Tian and me. He frowned deeply. "What's going on here?" No one dared utter a word. Then Su Tian started crying again. Her tears seemed to have a switch, ready to turn on whenever she needed them. She wiped her cheeks and recounted the whole incident in broken, hiccuping sentences. omitting every detail that cast her in a bad light, only repeating there was a system glitch. I triple-checked the list. And I have no idea how this happened. Her performance was utterly convincing, and she finished by adding, "It's all my fault. Teacher Liu, please don't blame Lin Sa." What a perfectly crafted line, "Please don't blame Lin Sa." As if I was the one throwing an unreasonable fit. Teacher Liu's expression darkened. He glanced at Su Tian's tear-streaked face, then at me leaning against the wall, and fell silent for 2 seconds. He waved his hand irritably. I thought this was some major crisis. His voice boomed, thick with annoyance at the triviality of the issue. Lin Sa. He turned to me, speaking as if reprimanding a misbehaving child. You've always been our top student. You need to look at the bigger picture. Su Tian's run herself ragged, taking care of everyone's arrangements, even if the work doesn't earn praise. Her effort deserves recognition. Are you going to throw a fit over one missing room and ruin 3 years of hard work for the whole class? Teacher Liu. Li Xiao couldn't hold back anymore. Lin Sa's not causing troublites. I didn't ask you to speak. One sharp glance from Teacher Liu silenced her mid-sentence. He slammed his thermos down on a nearby table and issued a blunt order. Grab a taxi and find another hotel nearby. It'll only cost a few dozen yuan. And you can easily afford it. Stop wasting everyone's time. Everyone. Disperse and head up to rest. He began herding the students away the second he finished speaking, as if the problem had been fully resolved, as if his single command could erase every conflict. Su Tian lowered her head and dabbed at her tears with the back of her hand, but I caught sight of her mouth hidden behind her palm. From that angle no one else could see. The corner of her mouth tugged upward ever so slightly. That fleeting flicker of triumph, this tiny secret smirk, confirmed everything I'd suspected. Teacher Liu. I called out to stop him as he turned toward the elevators. He spun around, his frown deepening further. What else is it? You just told me not to ruin everyone's 3 years of hard work. My tone was flat. Even flatter than I'd anticipated. I have one question for you. What's your question? Am I a student in this class? He hesitated briefly. Of course you are. Did I pay the exact same group booking fee as everyone else? Yes. Yes. You did. If I paid the same amount as every other student, why am I the only one without a room? Teacher Liu was left speechless, stuck for a reply. The students' eyes darted back and forth between me and their teacher. Some hung their heads, others scratched the backs of their necks, and a few sidled half a step away, desperate to distance themselves from the awkward confrontation. Su Tian's crying cut off. She lifted her eyes to look at me, a flicker of surprise in her gaze. She'd probably never imagined I'd piece everything together at this moment. I hadn't lost my temper or broken down. Instead, I'd zeroed in on the core contradiction running through the whole mess. Su Tian omitted my room reservation, whether it was intentional or not. She's the one who made the mistake. So why am I the one forced to bear the consequences? I fixed my eyes on Teacher Liu. You're our head teacher. Have you spoken a single word to stand up for me in all this? Did you even ask her what happened? Teacher Liu's face flushed alternately red and pale. After decades as a head teacher, he'd likely never been confronted so bluntly by a student. Lin Sa. That's going too far. Su Tian only meant well. Does meaning well erase accountability for the harm she caused? I cut him off. My voice stayed quiet. Yet the lobby was so deathly silent, every syllable carried clearly to everyone's ears. What if she'd kindly offered to hold your exam admission ticket on test day and accidentally lost it? Would you just brush it off and say, "Never mind. Go get a replacement for a few dozen yuan"? Teacher Liu's mouth fell open, but no words came out. His thermos still sat thudded on the counter. The lid hadn't been screwed tight, and a thin wisp of steam curled upward through the gap, floating silently amid his awkward silence. The only sound left echoing through the lobby was the steady tick-tock of the wall clock. Then Su Tian spoke up. Her voice slipped back into that frail, tear-choked tone, thick with nasal congestion. Lin Sa. You're right. This is all my fault. Don't blame Teacher Liu. We'll go double-check with the front desk right away and see if we can add an extra room. With that, She hurried toward the reception counter, rushing as if she truly intended to fix everything. Lu Chuan followed close behind her. As he passed me, he lowered his voice and muttered, "Are you satisfied now?" I ignored him. Li Xiao trembled with rage beside me. Sister Saw. You should have exposed her just now, all her lies. Xiao. I caught her wrist. But there's no rush. I watched Su Tian fumble frantically with her folder, watched her weep soft, tearful pleas to the receptionist, watched Lu Chuan stand beside her striking a protective pose, as if he could shield her from anything. No rush at all. The lobby clock struck 8:30. There were exactly 12.5 hours left until the exam kicked off at 9 tomorrow morning. More than enough time. Su Tian walked up to the counter clutching her folder and handed over her ID card. Her voice remained delicate, rough from crying, tugging at anyone who heard it. Hello. Could you please process the group check-in for Class 1? Senior 3. No. 1 City High School. The receptionist pulled on a professional smile, took the ID card, and bent to tap away at the keyboard. Su Tian turned around and offered an apologetic grin to the students behind her. Everyone, just wait a moment. It'll be sorted out soon. I really cross-checked the name list before. I have no idea how one room slipped through the cracks. She was still putting on an act. I leaned against the wall and watched the receptionist's fingers fly across the keys. Her polite smile faded into focus, then melted into confusion. She glanced up at Su Tian, typed a few more strokes, and finally froze mid-typing. Miss. The receptionist lifted her head, wearing a standard look of bewilderment. Su Tian twisted toward her. Is it ready? Excuse me. I need to confirm something with you. The receptionist tilted the computer screen slightly toward Su Tian for her to see. This reservation under your name. What about it? This entire booking was fully refunded over a phone verification call yesterday evening. Su Tian's smile froze rigid on her face, maintaining her steady, neutral professional tone. The receptionist finished the rest of the sentence. All 13 rooms were cancelled in full. I turned my gaze to Lu Chuan, staring at the boy I'd once liked. I suddenly thought how utterly foolish he was. Foolish enough to miss Su Tian's performance. Foolish enough to be her unwitting pawn. Foolish enough to believe his self-righteous stance of upholding justice made him look noble. Lu Chuan, I said. You're blocking my way. He clearly hadn't expected that line, and his words died in his throat. 3 full seconds of dead silence stretched out. Then the lobby erupted like cold water poured into boiling oil, crackling with chaos. What? Zhao Peng roared first, dropping the class flag entirely. Fully refunded. All rooms cancelled. Su Tian, have you lost your mind? No. Wait. Su Tian's face blanched instantly, her voice cracking. That's impossible. How could every single room be cancelled? There must be a system glitch. She lunged at the counter, both hands clamped onto the marble surface, leaning her entire upper body forward, her voice shrill and panicked. Check again. Check again. I only meant to. She cut herself off mid-sentence, biting her tongue hard to swallow the rest of her words. I only refunded. She corrected herself hastily, though her tone wavered badly. It can't be all of them. There's no way. The receptionist flinched at her outburst yet clung to professional patience. Tapping the keyboard once more, the screen glow cast shadows across her face as she frowned, double-checking the records carefully. Miss. The cancellation was confirmed at 6:42 yesterday evening, she stated firmly. Lifting her head, the reservation holder completed phone verification by providing the last 6 digits of their ID number and the order ID, and our customer service processed the full refund per standard protocol. The last 6 digits of her ID. Zhou Yan's voice cut through the crowd. That means Su Tian did it herself. Who else would know her ID number? Su Tian spun around abruptly, eyes blown wide. I didn't. I swear I didn't. Then who cancelled it? A ghost. Damn it. Su Tian, what exactly have you done? Lu Ziki slammed her school bag onto the floor and strode forward. Are you going to claim Lin Saw stole your ID and your phone to cancel the booking for you? The crowd fell silent for a split second after that accusation. Every pair of eyes swiveled uniformly toward me. I'd just twisted open my thermos to pour a drink, steam barely starting to rise, when I felt all those stares lock onto me again. I screwed the lid back shut and let out a dry laugh meeting their gazes. A hollow, meaningless laugh. "Lou Ziki," I said. "Use your brain." If I'd known the whole order got cancelled at 6:42 yesterday evening, would I have ridden the coach bus all the way here tonight just to watch the drama unfold? Lou Ziki choked on her words, lips twitching without forming a single reply. She's right. Lin Saw had no clue about any of this. Someone muttered. She was stuck in class with us all day yesterday. She never had time to pull something like this off. It's the hotel's fault. Su Tian latched onto this lifeline instantly, pointing at the receptionist and screaming, "What's wrong with your hotel? You're blaming your system errors on me. I'm filing a formal complaint. I'll call the 12315 consumer hotline." Her shrill yell bounced off every wall of the empty lobby. Spittle sprayed across the receptionist's face, who instinctively stepped back half a pace, a flicker of hurt crossing her features. "Miss, please calm down." How am I supposed to calm down? The college entrance exam is tomorrow. You canceled every room I booked, leaving 13 students with nowhere to stay. How do you expect me to stay calm? She spoke as if she held absolute moral high ground, as if the tearful girl who'd begged my forgiveness for missing my room minutes earlier was a total stranger. Teacher Liu paced frantically nearby, abandoning his thermos, waving his hands wildly in the air. "Stop the arguing. What are you all standing around for? Grab your phones and search for other hotels nearby immediately. We need to fix our accommodation problem tonight first." No one moved. The night before the National College entrance exam, there wasn't a single vacant room left in any hotel near the exam venue. Everyone knew that plain truth. Zhao Peng was already dialing hotel after hotel, each call ending in less than 20 seconds. His expression growing grimmer by the minute. Lou Ziki and Zhou Yin pulled out their phones to search as well, swiping rapidly across their screens, yet turning up 0 available rooms after ages of scrolling. Li Xiao leaned close to me and muttered a vicious curse under her breath. I said nothing. I watched Su Tian shout at the receptionist over the counter, watched her face flush bright red with agitation, watched thin beads of sweat bead across her forehead. Her reaction was 100 times more explosive than when she pretended only my single room had been overlooked. This was likely the first time the receptionist had encountered such a scene. Her cheeks burned red, yet she strove to maintain professional composure. She drew a deep breath and spoke in as steady a tone as she could muster. "Miss, please don't panic. All our verification calls are recorded, and I can pull up the audio file to confirm." Recordings. Su Tian froze for a heartbeat before raising her voice even louder. "You record calls. What gives you the right? Do you realize this is an invasion of privacy? It's part of our standard service procedure. Calls made for order verification are automatically recorded. I refuse to accept that. Your system malfunctioned and you're shifting the blame onto me. I demand to speak to your manager. I am the duty manager." A short-haired woman in a black suit stepped out from the office behind the counter, a name tag reading Wu Min, lobby manager, pinned to her chest. Her voice was soft, yet carried an unspoken authority that silenced the room at once. Manager Wu walked over to the reception computer, scanned the screen briefly, glanced up at Su Tian, then swept her gaze over the throng of 30-plus students and piles of luggage filling the lobby. "Let's get the facts straight first." She turned to the receptionist. "Xiao Zhou, pull up the audio recording of the cancellation call from yesterday evening. Right away." "Manager." Su Tian's face drained of color a second time. Not the pale flush of wrongful accusation and rage, but the ashen pallor of someone whose heart had been seized. Gasping for air, her fingers clamped tight around the counter edge, her fingernails blanching white from the pressure. "Su Tian." Zhao Ping set down his phone and frowned at her. "How did this happen? Think carefully. Did you mix something up back then?" Su Tian's voice wavered faintly before hardening again, digging in her heels. "I never canceled anything. I didn't make a single phone call that night." She spun to face the whole group as she spoke, her eyes reddening once more, her tone slipping back into that wronged, miserable lilt. I truly didn't do it. Please believe me, even if I were foolish. I'd never cancel everyone's hotel rooms the night before the exam. What possible benefit could that bring me? It was a clever line, not a defense, but a rhetorical question, tossing the burden of doubt back to everyone else. What gain could she possibly reap? No one would commit a crime with no reward. A few students began to waver. She's got a point. Su Tian would never sabotage herself. She needs a room too. It might really be a system error on the hotel's end, and they're just passing the buck to avoid responsibility. Yeah. Big businesses bullying students isn't exactly rare. Public opinion slowly shifted to her side. Su Tian caught that faint crack in their doubt instantly, sniffling softly as tears welled thicker in her eyes, her voice soft as cotton wool. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have picked this cheap hotel to save money. If I'd booked a proper chain, none of this would have happened. In 3 sentences, she recast herself from a suspect into a victim. Lu Chuan stood beside her, his expression complicated. Yet he edged slightly closer to her, his hand lifted halfway, as if meaning to pat her shoulder in comfort, before dropping back down without touching her. Manager Wu, right? Lu Chuan cleared his throat, adopting the authoritative tone he used as student union president to mediate disputes. Call recordings contain our students' private personal information. You recorded calls without consent, so legally that audio can't be used as valid. Lu Chuan. I spoke his full name. He jolted and twisted to face me. The entire lobby fell quiet again. Up until this point, I'd barely uttered a word. I hadn't pressed accusations when I should have. Hadn't flown into a rage when I had every right to. Hadn't wallowed in self-pity when everyone turned against me. I'd simply leaned against the wall, as if none of this chaos concerned me in the slightest. But now I'd spoken. I looked at Lu Chuan, my tone flat and unemotional. They're trying to figure out how the entire reservation got cancelled out of nowhere. What are you doing here stirring up unnecessary trouble? His face stiffened, mouth hanging half open with no retort to offer. I turned my attention away from him. Manager Wu nodded at the receptionist. Play the recording. Xiao Zhou connected the computer to a round Bluetooth speaker sitting on the counter and tapped the touchpad a few times. Su Tian stood rigid, her lips pressed into a thin, tight line, jaw locked hard. At some point, she pulled her hands off the countertop. They hung limp at her sides, knotted tight around the hem of her school uniform jacket. Su Tian. Li Xiao leaned in to whisper in my ear, her voice lowered so only I could hear. Look at her hands acting extremely suspicious. Her knuckles trembled faintly. At first, she managed to control the shiver, but as the speaker emitted a faint static buzz, her shaking grew more and more obvious. The audio began to play. First came a robotic female voice. Hello. This is Yueching Hotel Reservation Center. To guarantee service quality, this call may be recorded. How may I assist you? Then, a girl's voice, lowered to barely more than a breathy murmur. Hi. I submitted a refund request via my phone earlier. I'd like to confirm if it went through successfully. The air in the lobby turned thick and stagnant. That voice, that soft, thin, faintly timid voice. It was none other than Su Tian. The customer service agent on the line spoke clearly. Very well, miss. Could you provide the order number or the reservation holder's phone number for the booking you wish to refund? Su Tian's voice sounded again, dropped even lower, as if she was pressing the phone tight against her mouth to keep anyone nearby from catching a single word. I'm the reservation holder, Su Tian. It's the group booking for Class 1. Senior 3 at No. 1 City High School. I just want to confirm. She paused. There was a half-second blank on the recording, filled only by her shallow, rapid, restrained breathing, rising and falling in quick succession. Then she said, was the room under the name Lin saw cancelled? Xiao Zhou, the front desk clerk, tore her gaze from the computer screen and fixed it squarely on Su Tian's face. Su Tian's complexion had drained of every last trace of color. The recording continued. Silence hung on the agent's end for several seconds. Presumably while she pulled up the booking in the system, her voice returned, tinged with confusion. Miss, are you referring to Miss Lin Saw's room within the group reservation? My system shows all bookings under this order. Yes, just hers. Su Tian cut her off, eager to hear only the answer she wanted and no more. It's cancelled. Right. It's fully cancelled already. It has been cancelled. But... Okay. Thank you. A sharp dial tone echoed. The call had ended, just as everyone assumed the recording was finished. Another voice crackled out of the speaker. It was the customer service agent. She must not have realized the line had been disconnected, or she was muttering to herself to the deadline. Her words carried crisply through the Bluetooth speaker, every syllable crystal clear. Miss. I wasn't finished speaking. Aside from Miss Lin Saw's room, all 38 other rooms you reserved have also been cancelled. The entire order has been fully refunded. Hello, Miss. The line had long gone dead. The agent called out twice more, then mumbled, Why hang up in such a rush? Before the recording finally cut to silence, Xiao Zhou pressed pause and lifted her head, her gaze fixed on Su Tian with a complicated mix of emotions. Manager Wu stood beside her, arms folded across her chest, her expression unreadable. She seemed ready to say something, then thought better of it. Su Tian stood frozen before the front desk, her hands still clenched around the hem of her school uniform, her knuckles blanched blue-white. Her lips twitched as she scrambled for an excuse, yet no words came out. Zhao Ping spun to face her, his neck flushed crimson. You. He could not even finish the sentence. Zhou Yan's pen slipped from her grasp and clattered onto the marble floor. No one bent to pick it up. Lu Ziki stood rooted in the crowd, mouth agape, eyes blown wide, like someone watching a thriller whose culprit turned out to be an acquaintance. And Su Tian swayed on her feet. Her lips trembled, and genuine tears welled in her eyes. Her gaze darted wildly across the lobby, over Zhao Peng's furious red face, Zhou Yan's stunned stare, Lu Ziki's slowly closing jaw, then over Lu Chuan's completely rigid, stunned features. Finally, her eyes landed on me. I leaned against the wall, still clutching the thermos of water I'd never gotten to drink, and shot her a glance. Su Tian, I said. My voice was quiet, yet every person in the silent lobby heard it perfectly. Earlier you claimed this was a system glitch. No one answered me. For a full 10 seconds after the recording ended, not a soul spoke. Then Zhao Ping exploded first. Su Tian, are you out of your mind? He hurled the class flag onto the ground. Its wooden pole crashed against the marble with a shrill scrape. You specifically called to check if Lin Saw's room was cancelled. Only hers. What the hell were you thinking? Su Tian stumbled backward until her spine slammed against the marble counter. Shaking like a leaf caught in a gale, her lips quivered, and tears spilled down her cheeks at last, but no one felt the slightest pity for her this time. It's not how it sounded on the recording. Her words stuttered, like a radio stuck on a skipping track. I accidentally saw Lin Saw had processed a refund already. I thought she'd cancelled it herself. I just wanted to confirm the system had gone through with it. I never meant to hurt everyone. I was trying to cover for Lin Sat. His must be her fault for getting all of us. You never meant to hurt anyone. Zhou Yan had stood up from the leather stool without anyone noticing, shock melting into unbridled anger on her face. If you didn't mean to sabotage us, why refund the booking? Why single out Lin Saw's room of all peoples? Do you take us for deaf or stupid? No. Truly, I didn't cancel anything. I only worried there was an issue with Lin Saw's room. Just wanted to double-check for her. Double-check for her. Lu Ziki let out a sharp, bitter laugh born of sheer rage. Su Tian, you called to confirm if her room was cancelled. Earlier you told Lin Saw a system error had omitted her booking. You cancelled the order yourself. Called to verify it, then lied and blamed a system glitch. Do you think everyone else is as brainless as you are? Su Tian's mouth hung open, unable to close. Her eyes darted frantically through the crowd. Like a drowning woman grasping for driftwood, her gaze landed on Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan lingered at the edge of the crowd, his face a mask of tangled emotions. Half the righteous indignation he'd worn while shielding Su Tian still lingered. Yet the other half had been shattered by that quiet line on the recording: was the room under the name Lin Sa cancelled. He looked as though he'd swallowed a fly, trapped between disgust and helplessness. Frozen to the spot. Lu Chuan Su Tian's voice softened, thick with sobs. Say something for me. I truly didn't mean for this to happen. Lu Chuan parted his lips. No sound escaped. Zhao Peng spoke for him instead. You dare ask him to defend you? Lu Chuan, weren't you just accusing Lin Sa of throwing a spoiled rich girl tantrum? Weren't you saying she lacked consideration for the whole class? Who ruined everything? Now answer us. Lu Chuan's face flushed red then pale. His Adam's apple bobbed repeatedly, and he forced out a few broken words. I didn't know. You didn't know. Then stay quiet. Zhao Ping snapped at him before rounding back on Su Tian. Su Tian, let me make this clear. The college entrance exam is tomorrow, and you've cancelled all 13 of our rooms. Where exactly are we supposed to stay tonight? Inside your head. Su Tian flinched violently at his roar, hunching her shoulders and shrinking back as tears streamed unchecked down her face. But no one stepped forward to pat her shoulder. No one handed her tissues. No one crowded around murmuring, "Don't cry." A wide empty circle opened up around her. The head teacher stood 2 paces away, his expression 10 times darker than before. His thermos still sat abandoned on the counter. Its lid askew, the tea inside long gone cold. He opened his mouth several times before forcing out 4 hoarse words. You foolish girl. His hands shook as he spoke, not from cold, but from unbridled fury. He taught this class for 3 years. Looked out for every student for 3 years, only for one of his class cadres to carve such a massive disaster the night before the national exam. Enough arguing, he finally bellowed, his voice raw as if sandpaper had scraped his throat. What good does shouting do? Everyone, pull out your phones right now and search for any available hotels nearby. No one moved. After 5 or 6 long seconds, Lu Ziki held up her phone, her tone flat and heavy. Every hotel within 5 kilometers is fully booked. What about 7 kilometers out? All full. 10 kilometers. Still no vacancies. Teacher Lu, all accommodation near the exam venue is taken. Tomorrow's the exam day. We're not the only school sitting the tests here. Silence draped the lobby once more, heavier than anger, thick with despair. Su Tian huddled in the corner by the front desk, her shoulders heaving, her thin broken sobs like a rusted door hinge creaking back and forth. No one went to comfort her. No one spared her another glance. Everyone stared at their phones, dialed hotel numbers, and asked one another if any relatives or friends lived nearby who could host them for the night. Everyone except me. I twisted open the thermos lid and took a slow sip of water. Lin saw. Someone called my name. It was Lu Ziki. She'd stepped out from the crowd and stood 3 paces away. Why from me? I'd thought she might come over to apologize. But her expression told another story. She tilted her head, raking her eyes up and down my frame. Lips pressed thin as she weighed something over in her mind. Aren't you supposed to have all the connections? She spoke, her tone a stark contrast to the conciliatory voice she'd used earlier, sharp with unspoken resentment. Your family's wealthy, aren't they? Your parents have wide networks, just give them a quick call. I stared at her without a word. Ask your folks to pull some strings and see if any hotel can free up rooms for us. She held her phone out toward me, its screen lit with a list of unanswered or disconnected calls. The rest of us have no options. But you're different, right? With your family's money. You must have some way to sort this out. At those words, several students scrolling through their phones paused. Zhou Yen lifted her head to look at me, her lips twitching as she hesitated whether to agree. Chen Ning tugged Lu Ziki's sleeve and whispered for her to stop. But Lu Ziki shook her off roughly. What's wrong with what I said? Lu Ziki raised her voice a notch higher. We're all in the same boat with this huge mess. Lin saw. You have the means, one phone call is nothing for you. Her tone remained self-righteous. As if she was doing me a favor by offering me a chance to make amends. As if calling my parents was my obligation. And refusing would mark me narrow-minded and disloyal to my classmates. I suddenly remembered the incident back in grade 2 senior high. The school had organized a book donation drive for impoverished mountain villages, requiring each student to donate at least 3 books. I'd carried a full hardcover encyclopedia set in a box into the classroom. Luziki had passed my desk, glanced at the box, and muttered to the girl beside her, "She even has to show off when donating books." Desperate for everyone to see how rich she is, the head teacher had praised my set later during class meeting, and Luziki had rolled her eyes non-stop for the entire period. Now here she was, demanding I make that phone call. Ziki. Zhou Yin gently pulled at her arm again. "Drop it, this isn't the time for this." "What do you mean it's pointless?" Luziki ripped her arm free, her tone sharper still. "I'm trying to find a solution here. She's got the resources, so why not use them? We're all stuck here. Are you just going to leave us to fend for ourselves while you run off alone?" Li Xiao stepped forward, but I held her back. I fixed my gaze on Luziki for roughly 3 seconds. She grew uneasy under my stare, tilting her chin upward in a feeble attempt to bolster her courage. "I won't make that call," I said. "Why not?" "My parents don't run hotels or have business ties with them. A phone call can't conjure 13 empty rooms out of thin air. Your idea of what having money means doesn't match reality." Luziki's face stiffened for a split second. I said no more to her. I screwed the thermos lid shut, slipped it into the side pocket of my backpack, then bent to grab my luggage bag at my feet. "Let's go," I told Li Xiao. Li Xiao blinked, but asked no questions, quickly hefting her own bag to follow me. Our footsteps echoed crisply across the marble floor as we walked faster toward the hotel entrance. "Lin saw," a voice called out from behind us. It was Zhao Ping. "Where are you going?" I did not reply. Continuing forward. "Did you book another hotel somewhere else?" Luziki's voice chased after me, sharp with triumphant suspicion. "You had a backup plan all along, didn't you?" I halted, not out of guilt, but out of sheer amusement. I turned to face her. Meeting her, I caught you red-handed stare, and shook my phone lightly in my hand. "No, I can't predict the future, so there's no way I could have booked a hotel in advance." "Then where are you headed?" "Home." "Home." Zhao Peng frowned. "Your place is in the new district, isn't it?" "The subway ride takes an hour. How will you get here through tomorrow's morning rush hour?" "I never said I'm going back to the new district house." I shifted my backpack to the other shoulder and pulled a keychain out of my pocket, letting it jingle softly. It was an ordinary front door key strung with a small wooden pendant, worn smooth from years of handling, its edges polished to a warm matte sheen. "What does that mean?" Zhao Peng stared hard at the key. "My family owns a small apartment nearby. It's a 10-minute walk from the exam venue." I curled my fingers around the key, my tone flat. I hadn't planned to stay there. I'd wanted to book the hotel with everyone to make a memory of our 3 years in high school. I swept my gaze over the lobby. Su Tian still sobbing in the front desk corner, the battered class flag drooping limp in Zhao Peng's grasp. The lingering resentment and stunned disbelief etched across Luziki's face. "But I don't need that memory anymore." "Wait a second." The moment I pushed against the hotel's glass entrance door, multiple voices erupted behind me all at once. A crowd surged hurriedly toward the doorway, as if only just processing what I'd said. "Lin saw. Wait for us. Your family owns an apartment nearby. A whole flat. Why didn't you mention this earlier? We wouldn't have wasted all this time arguing." That last line came from Zhou Yan. My hand paused on the glass door handle. Li Xiao stood beside me, her suitcase wheels already crossing the threshold. She glanced back at Zhou Yan, then at me, her mouth tugging downward, but she said nothing at all. Zhou Yan trotted over 2 quick steps. Her expression was completely transformed from earlier, when the recording played. She'd burned with rage. When confronting Su Tian, she'd radiated righteous indignation. Now, facing me, she plastered on a warm, familiar smile. as if no unpleasantness had ever passed between us. Sasa. Her tone lightened, oozing an unearned sense of closeness. How big's that apartment of yours? How many people can it fit? Look at all of us. We can't camp out in the lobby all night. We can't sit here till dawn. We've got the exam tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Ning poked her head out of the crowd, pressing her palms together in a pleading gesture toward me. Sister Sa, please do us a favor. We're truly stuck with nowhere to stay tonight. Your place is close to the exam hall. We'll sleep on the floor or the sofas. We promise not to mess up the house at all. Song Jia hesitated, biting her lip before adding quietly, Lin Sa, I didn't stand up for you back in the lobby, and that was wrong of me. I'm really sorry. But look at the mess we're in now. Could you help us sort out somewhere to sleep first? They stood on the inner side of the glass door, while I stood outside. A door frame separated us. Along with half an hour's worth of ugly silence, my mind drifted back to the group chat the day we booked the hotel rooms. Lin Sa said she doesn't want the group booking. So forget it then. She's too good for budget group hotels. No big deal if she skips it. We'll book 13 rooms total. She can get herself a fancy 5-star hotel alone. Rich people really are something. They can skip group activities whenever they feel like it. Hadn't that been Lu Ziki typing? And Zhou Yin echoing her right after. Hadn't Song Jia sent that giggling emoji behind their backs? Back then, I'd stared at the lines scrolling across the screen, typed out a reply to explain myself, then deleted it, typed again, deleted again. In the end, I sent nothing, flipped my phone face down on the desk, and stared blankly at the ceiling for 10 whole minutes. Then my mom walked in, sat on the edge of my bed, and asked what was wrong. I told her my classmates were sorting out exam accommodation in the group chat. I hadn't wanted the crowded group hotel. I'd planned to book a quieter place on my own, but everyone was calling me out for acting special. Mom fell silent for a moment, offering no comfort and no judgment of the others. She simply stood, walked over to the desk, pulled open a drawer, rummaged around, then turned back and pressed a set of keys into my palm. A front door key strung with a tiny wooden pendant, a Mother's Day craft I'd made for her back in primary school. She'd kept it all these years. I bought a small apartment near the exam venue a few years back. Meant to rent it out but never got around to it. I had cleaners come through 2 days ago. All the bedding's brand new, and I stocked the fridge with food. Stay there instead. It'll be far more comfortable than a hotel. I clutched the key, the gentle warmth of the wood seeping into my palm. Mom, why'd you buy a place all the way over there? Back in grade 9, you kept complaining the dorm was too noisy to nap at noon. I originally got it for your lunch breaks, once you enrolled at our high school. It sat empty ever since. I'd tucked the key into an inner pocket of my backpack, never planning to use it. I told myself to stick through this last group stay, let them talk if they wanted. It wouldn't matter once the exams ended. But standing outside the hotel glass door now, watching them crowd around begging, I realized Mom had been right. That apartment would be far more comfortable than any hotel. I pulled my thoughts back to the present. Zhou Yan kept talking, taking my silence as hesitation and growing more eager by the second. Sister Sa, think us girls take barely any space. We'll sleep on the floor or couches. We won't disturb you one bit. Zhou Yan. I cut her off. She fell quiet, looking at me with hopeful eyes. I already said it earlier. I twisted the key between my fingers, the metal clinking crisply. I'm uncomfortable having people who aren't my friends stay at my home. Her warm smile froze solid on her face. Ning slowly lowered her clasped hands. Song Jiao bit her lip and stared at the ground. Lu Ziki stood at the back of the crowd, arms folded, the sour resentment she'd carried earlier still lingering at the corners of her mouth, yet her eyes widened, clearly not expecting me to turn them down outright. It wouldn't be safe. I glanced at her, then Zhou Yan and Song Jia, and offered a faint smile. And I wouldn't feel at ease leaving strangers in my place. Sasa. Zhou Yan tried to press on. I lifted a hand, repeating the exact words she'd thrown at me in the lobby not long ago. Word for word. Don't let us hold you back. And don't hold us back either. The glass door slid shut slowly behind me, Warm night air washed over my face, thick with the scent of June asphalt and the odor of Odin wafting from the convenience store across the road. The shadow of a Polonia tree swayed across the pavement. Street lamp light filtered through gaps in the leaves, dappling our shoulders with flecks of gold. Sister saw. Li Xiao dragged her suitcase to catch up, walking half a block before she spoke, barely holding back laughter. Did you see Zhou Yan's face just now? I saw it. Absolute gold. It was fine. She took 2 more steps and burst out laughing. Just fine. You threw her own words straight back at her and left her speechless. Shows that only fine. So you wanna come stay at my place? I shifted to the main point. Obviously. I'm sticking right by your side. The final bell of the college entrance exam rang just as I finished the last period of my English essay. I set down my pen, stacked my exam paper and answer sheet neatly, and glanced out the window. The June sun hung low in the west, diffused into a blurry golden glow through the frosted exam hall glass. The classroom air conditioner hummed steadily. A boy in the back row kicked a desk leg as he handed in his paper, the sharp metal clatter echoing through the silent room. The invigilator collected all the papers, counted them, and nodded. You may leave now. The corridor erupted instantly. Students screamed, sprinted down the halls, tossed pencil cases toward the ceiling and caught them again, and leaped into each other's arms. The weight of 3 years lifted in a single second, spilling into cheers and thunderous footsteps filling every hallway. I grabbed my transparent pencil pouch and walked out of the exam hall, waiting for Li Xiao at the stairwell. She emerged about 5 minutes later, darting straight over to cling to my arm, her face glowing bright. Sister saw, was the answer to the third reading passage C. I almost changed it. It was C. I knew it. She hopped once on the spot, then tugged me toward the stairs. Come on. Let's hit the fried skewer stall by the school gate. I've been craving it for 3 whole days. I'll lose my mind if I don't eat now. She dragged me across the sports field, past the running track we'd circled every morning for morning exercise, past the flagpole for weekly flag-raising ceremonies and the faded red track lines. The school gate was swarmed with parents waiting to pick up their kids. Some held up phones to film. Some waved frantically. Some called out their children's names. A mother in a red dress sprinted forward with a bouquet of flowers and pulled her daughter into a tight hug, both of them crying. Li Xiao and I squeezed sideways through the crowd, heading straight for the skewer stall we'd been daydreaming about. 7 or 8 newly released exam students already lined up in front of it. Skewers sizzled loudly in the hot oil. The stall owner was too swamped to lift her head, flipping skewers as she called out orders. Mild spicy or medium spicy, cumin, cash or mobile pay. Li Xiao stood on tiptoes to peer over the crowd, rattling off her order under her breath. 2 chicken cutlets, 3 fish tofu sticks, squid tentacles, lotus root slices. Are you sure you can finish all that? I leaned against a utility pole beside the stall, tucking my pencil pouch into my backpack's side pocket. The gaocao's over. We're celebrating golf course. I'm ordering extra, she said matter-of-factly, then turned to me with a sudden question. Sister Saw, do you wonder how Su Tian's doing right now? I saw her at the exam hall entrance this morning. Her eyes puffy like walnuts. She must have pulled an all-nighter. I don't know, I said flatly. And I don't care to find out. Preach. She turned back to the stall. Add a rice cake too. While we're at it. Steam from the frying oil washed over us, thick with the aroma of cumin and chili powder. Polonia tree shadows stretched across the pavement. A gust of wind sent a leaf drifting onto the stall's canvas awning, making a faint rustling sound. I leaned back against the pole and closed my eyes, mentally recapping the 4 exam papers I'd just finished, confident I'd made no major mistakes. I slowly exhaled the tension I'd carried for days. When our turn came, Li Xiao was already salivating. The vendor fished the golden skewers out of the oil, brushed them with sauce, sprinkled cumin and chili flakes, and wrapped them in oil paper to hand over. I'd just taken a bite of chicken cutlet when my phone buzzed inside my backpack. An unfamiliar number lit up the screen. I hesitated briefly, then answered. Is this Lin Saw? A middle-aged man's voice came through the line, formal and edged with impatience. This is Director Fong from the school academic affairs office. Can you come back to the school right now? Headmaster's office. Now. Yes. Immediately. We need you to come in and clarify a matter with us. What matter? He paused, seeming to weigh his words, then simply said, You'll find out when you get here. The line cut off. Li Xiao held a fish tofu skewer. Noticing my darkened expression and mumbling through a mouthful of food. Who was that? What's wrong? The academic affairs director. He wants me back at school. Now. We just finished the exam swats that urgent. I folded the oil paper around my half-eaten cutlet and slipped it back into the bag, wiped my fingers, and slung my backpack over one shoulder. No clue, I said. But it doesn't sound like good news. I'm coming with you. No. Go wait at my apartment. Take the key. There's food in the fridge. I handed her the key. She grabbed it, her brows furrowed, staring straight into my eyes earnestly. Call me if anything happens. I'll rush over right away. Don't worry. I patted her shoulder. I'll just go sort out whatever this is. It'll probably be a quick formality. I'll be back soon. With that, I turned and walked toward the school gates. After a few steps, I paused, pulled a number from my phone contacts, and dialed it. It rang twice before being picked up. Lawyer Wong. Sorry to disturb you. This is Lin Saw. I might need your help with something. The school's academic affairs director just called me to the headmaster's office. He wouldn't specify the issue, but I have a rough idea what it's about. If you're free, could you come to the school in half an hour? I'll reach out if it turns out your presence isn't necessary. I hung up, clutching my phone in one hand, walking along the shaded path beside the school wall toward the main gate. Running through every possible scenario in my head. Su Tian wouldn't let last night's failure rest that easily. The kind of person who refuses to admit defeat when they suffer a loss only twists things around to shift blame onto me instead. I just couldn't guess what story she'd fabricate. This time. The headmaster's office sat on the top floor of the teaching building. The corridor was lined with dark carpet. Its walls hung with photos of outstanding graduates from every year and calligraphy scrolls bearing mottos like "Virtue bears all things." When I reached the door, it stood slightly ajar. A jumble of voices drifted out. A shrill woman's yell, a man's low soothing tone, and broken, sniffling sobs. I recognized those sobs instantly. I pushed the door open. The moment the door swung wide, every sound in the room cut dead. The headmaster's office was spacious. Behind a broad wooden desk sat a gray-haired middle-aged man in thin gold-rimmed glasses, his face stony with displeasure. Director Fong from Academic Affairs sat on a sofa beside him, twisting an unlit cigarette between his fingers. Across from the sofa, 3 people occupied a row of chairs, a middle-aged couple, with Su Tian sandwiched between them. Su Tian's mother shot to her feet first. She wore a floral silk blouse with neatly permed tight curls. Yet her expression clashed violently with her elegant outfit. She jabbed a finger coated in bean paste nail polish straight at me, the tip nearly touching my face. That's her. Her voice shrilled loud enough to fill the room. Headmaster, this is Lin Saw. She stole my daughter's phone out of revenge and canceled every single one of our class's hotel rooms. A student with such terrible moral character ought to be expelled. I stood frozen in the doorway, not moving an inch. Su Tian's mother kept ranting. Flecks of spit glinting in the sunlight streaming through the window. Do you have any idea what it meant for 13 kids to have nowhere to stay the night before exams? Several only got 3 or 4 hours of sleep before sitting their tests. She ruined 3 years of hard work for everyone. Ruined their whole futures. Director Fong cleared his throat softly beside her. Mrs. Su, please calm down. We're still sorting out the facts. What's there to sort out? What more do we need to confirm? She whirled to face Su Tian, huddled small in her chair. Tian, tell them yourself. Repeat what you told me at home, right here in front of the headmaster. Su Tian sat hunched in her seat, her head bowed, shoulders jerking with quiet sobs. When she lifted her face, tear tracks streaked from her eyes all the way down to her chin, her eyelids swollen and bright red. The picture of wronged misery. Lin Saw. Her voice was hoarse, thick with nasal congestion. I know you hate me for beating you to first place in the grade at last semester's mock exam. But you couldn't play around with all our classmates' futures like this. She hiccuped, wiped the corners of her eyes with her fingers, and went on. The night before the comprehensive science exam, lots of classmates sat in the lobby until 3 in the early morning before they finally found somewhere to stay. This morning outside the exam hall, I saw Zhou Yen leaning against the wall, her face ashen pale. I asked her what was wrong, and she said she'd only slept 3 hours, her head spinning and foggy. Her voice faded smaller and smaller, breaking into ragged sobs at last. You could take your revenge on me all you want. But why did you make everyone else suffer alongside me? Nice. I mentally applauded. That line was well-crafted. It wasn't a hysterical accusation, but a layered, vivid narrative filled with specific details. There was a motive, tangible consequences, identifiable victims. And that final cutting line disguised as magnanimity. You could take your revenge on me. If I hadn't been the target of all this, I might have almost believed her. Director Fong. I turned to the academic affairs director. Did you call me over just for this? Director Fong shifted the unlit cigarette from his left hand to his right, looking troubled. Lin saw. This matter has blown up quite a bit. We've all heard about what happened at the hotel last night. As one of the parties involved, we hope you'll cooperate and clarify the whole truth. Clarify what? Clarify that I stole Su Tian's phone and framed her for canceling the whole class's rooms. The proof is ironclad. Su Tian's mother shot to her feet again. If you didn't steal it, then what else? Only Tian's phone could process that order. Are you saying all 13 people in the lobby sleepwalked together to cancel the bookings? At that moment, Su Tian spoke up. Her sobs had died away without me noticing. Her voice still sounded soft, yet its pitch rose noticeably, brimming with the confidence of holding a hidden trump card. I remember now. She lifted her red-rimmed eyes to meet mine. Tear tracks still streaked across her cheeks, no longer shying away from my gaze. Yesterday evening, we were all studying in the classroom. I stepped out for roughly 30 minutes, leaving my phone tucked inside my desk drawer. She turned to Director Fong, her tone resolute. Teacher Fong. I left the classroom between 6:30 and 7. Lin Su's seat is 2 rows behind mine. She had every chance to grab my phone and submit the refund while I was gone. My phone didn't have a lock screen password back then. Anyone could pick it up and use it. Upon hearing this, Su Tian's mother latched onto it like a lifeline, spinning around, her voice sharpening further. Do you hear that? The timeline lines up perfectly. The refund went through at 6:42. Tian was away from her desk from 6:30 to 7, and her phone was left in the drawer. This is clearly Lin Sa seizing the opportunity to act. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Su Tian's mother's rage intensified, shifting from raw emotional outburst to aggressive interrogation. Does your classroom have surveillance cameras? I didn't think so. That leaves witness testimony as our only evidence. Director Fong. Who else could have done this besides her? Tian would never cancel her own room and leave herself stranded for the whole night. Exactly. Su Tian sniffled, fixing those red eyes on me, her tone sinking back into that wronged, tearful whine. Lin saw. Why would you do this to me? If you held any grievances against me, you could have told me to my face why steal my phone to pull a stunt like this. Director Fong's expression wavered. He likely thought the timeline matched up too neatly for comfort. Lin saw. He turned to me, his tone heavier than before. You claim you didn't do it. Do you have any proof? Or anyone who can account for where you were during that window? Lu Chuan stepped forward from beside the bookshelf, standing beside Su Tian as a silent show of support. I stared at Su Tian, catching the fleeting glint of triumph in her eyes when she mentioned leaving her phone in the drawer. This hadn't been a last-minute fabrication. She'd planned this angle long before coming to the headmaster's office. She knew the refund could only be processed from her own device. So by bringing up the period when her phone had been unattended, she'd shifted all suspicion onto me. It was true I'd been in the classroom between 6:30 and 7. It was true Su Tian had stepped out. It was true her phone might have sat unguarded in her drawer. It formed a perfectly cohesive, damning loop of logic. But every action leaves traces. If I hadn't done it, I'd like to see anyone prove that I had. Conversely, Su Tian had committed the crime and I refused to believe there weren't tiny clues exposing her. Small details made or broke lies. And she clearly lacked experience with this sort of deception. Otherwise she would have been exposed at the hotel the night before. Director Fong. I turned my head. My voice calm. I doubt this matter between Su Tian and I can be properly resolved within the school. I suggest we call the police. Call the police. Director Fong stared in shock. Yes. Slander. Coupled with fabricating false accusations that disrupted other students' college entrance exams, this meets the criteria for a police filing. I pulled out my phone, tapped 3 digits, and held the lit screen toward him. If you're uncomfortable making the call, I will. Su Tian's sobs cut off for a split second. Yet she did not panic. She even cracked a fleeting smile, quickly smoothed away, as if she'd fully anticipated my reaction. Go ahead and call, she said. Her voice still soft. The police will only uncover the truth once they arrive. Lu Chuan frowned beside her, hesitated, then stepped forward to block Su Tian from my view. Lin saw. Is this really necessary? Why involve the police? Can't we settle this between classmates within the school? Settle it between classmates. I repeated his words, nodding faintly. Lu Chuan, you've stood right beside her this entire time. Are you here to act as a witness? I'm merely stating the facts. He set his jaw rigidly. Multiple people saw Su Tian was away from her desk during that window. If you want to prove your innocence, produce evidence. Very well. I stowed my phone and looked to the headmaster. Headmaster, since both sides tell conflicting stories, we ought to follow official procedure and contact the police. The headmaster fell silent for several seconds. His gaze behind the gold-rimmed glasses shifted from my face to Su Tian's, then back to me. He slowly nodded. Director Fong. Notify the local police station. The police station stood 2 streets east of the school, a 3-story gray-white building. Lawyer Wang had arrived ahead of me, waiting in the lobby. She wore a navy blazer with a low ponytail, carrying a black briefcase. Her expression composed. She nodded when she saw me walk in.